the next person I'd like to invite on the stage is Robin. Robin, are you around? Yep, great, okay. It's funny, when you do a conference like this, you get emails and Slack messages, for those of you who are on Slack. You get messages from all the way around the world. And we had this talk of these fires in Portugal. I mean, Robin is here and the fires are only about 10 kilometres away, 3 kilometres away from his home right now. So he's had to cut his trip here short because it's quite a precious time with your family and with your home being at risk. So I really appreciate you coming to the conference, and we really do wish you well. Now, the reason I asked Robin here was because whenever the trustees of the Natural Beekeeping Trust meet together, we like to read something to ourselves which actually puts us in the right frame of mind for the meeting ahead. Otherwise we just end up arguing, to be honest. So we wanted something just to set our minds as to what we were doing. And about a month ago we had a meeting about this conference, and we read out something that Robin had written, and it seemed to me to sum up perfectly what this conference was about. So I'll hand over to you. You can either sit down or stand up to you. Okay?
Ooh, being up here reminds me of last time I was on stage, which was high school, and I was cross-dressing and I was singing a song. A little bit like this. I've got 2 wonderful arms, I've got 2 wonderful legs, I'm over 21 and I'm free. Oh, I got a hive full of honey for the right kind of honeybee. But we'll leave that story and move on to this one. Vandalism and Love. As I approach the beehive, sadness wells up within me. Who would do such a thing? The Kenyan top bar beehive precariously teeters at a frightening angle against the fence, loose top bars scattered on the grass at its base. I put down the wheelbarrow that carries my equipment and take a moment to feel the gravity of the situation. I don't use protective equipment when entering the bee's sacred space. This is different. Something terrible has happened to these bees. So for the first time in a long time, I reach for my bee suit, I zip it up and place the veil over my head and pull on a set of gloves to fully protect me from the wrath of surely thousands upon thousands of bees. Very angry, very upset, very hurt bees. I place my hands on the hive and I speak to the bees and I let them know of my intention. I'm here to help. I ask permission to enter your sacred space, and I'm sorry for your pain, for your suffering. Please forgive me for any further pain that I cause you, beautiful being. I love you. Thank you. Hugging the hive from underneath, I heave with all of my strength. Pivoting on the 2 legs that remain on solid ground, I return the hive to her original position where it had been so joyously thriving as part of the Mumbala Primary Steiner School in Bega. That's about 5 hours south of Sydney in Australia. Standing back, I noticed the viewing panel hanging open and a lump of concrete being used as a projectile lodged into the viewing panel, a mass of cracked glass and wax comb. Combs still so full of life, with brood and bees. They lay like collapsed dominoes, warped and broken from the impact of frustration and aggression. As I view the damage, an acute sadness grips me, and then gives way to a mounting sense of anger and frustration. Oh, I hope you bees had your revenge. I hope that whoever did this horrible thing ran from here screaming with 100 stings. Gradually, these heavy feelings give way to a sense of apprehension about what lies ahead, about what I must do now, about the intense surgical procedure that must follow. I begin to feel nervous. I have no smoker. How will this work? The smoker is not something I'm in the habit of using when visiting the bee. I don't enjoy breathing smoke, and I notice that they don't much enjoy it either. But smoke does seem to distract the bees from the trauma, It is thought that the potential impending catastrophe of a bushfire overrides all other dangers. As I no longer know the whereabouts of my old bee smoker, I start loading dry leaf litter into a tin bucket. That will be my makeshift smoker today. I encircle the hive with smoke, wafting it over the hive, and then place the smouldering bucket under the hive. I lift the roof and observe the destruction from a new angle. The hive is an absolute mess, and it takes a while to act as emotions just roll like waves through my body. Focusing on the task at hand, I begin by removing the first couple of top bars. The comb is still attached, and in comparison to the others, they're only slightly twisted, so I place them to one side of the hive to correct last. I then cable tie a couple of crocodile hair clips onto an empty top bar that will be used to reattach a broken comb onto the top bar. I turn my attention to the main bulk of the brood combs that lay on top of each other, and very gently I pick up one of the combs with my hands. I do this in slow motion, giving the bees time to move from beneath my fingers. The comb, though, is stiff and will not come freely. I look closely and see all of the collapsed comb has been attached to the base and the sides of the hive. The bees have tried their utmost to re-establish order in the chaos wrought by this violent attack. In some places, they've even attached combs to neighbouring combs. They've been hard at work to rebuild their nest. This touches me deeply. I slowly remove my hands, take a knife from my kit, and start cutting the comb free. This takes considerable time, and as I go to great pains to not cause any more harm than is absolutely necessary, I proceed with the utmost care. The bees move out of the way of the foreign blade. I place the knife down and then once again gently hold the brood comb, full with bees. I'm conscious that I'm holding the womb of the bee organism, the being. I feel respect and reverence. To my intense relief, the comb I'm working on comes free, and I remove it from the collapsed pile of top bars. Balancing the brood comb in my left hand, I take the top bar that I have prepared with crocodile clips in my right hand. It is a delicate balance as the comb is flopping without the rigidity of the attached top bar. I open the first clip and place the teeth over the top bar, over the top of the comb, wiggling the clip up and down to make sure all the bees on that section of the comb move away from the clip. When the coast is clear, I take the pressure off the clip's hinge and the teeth sink into the comb, supporting the comb. I then move to the second clip. This one goes wrong. It drops into the hive with an awful thud. Bees, many bees, fly up all around me, highly alarmed. I apologise for my clumsiness and I ask their permission to try again. Strangely, despite all of this commotion, not a single bee comes toward me with aggression. Not with the intent to sting. I'm quite surprised. Can they tell that this is my first time conducting this surgical procedure? I carry on and take even greater care to support the comb whilst I apply the clips. I find that resting the comb against my body gives it another point of contact and helps to steady it. Finally, I hold the top bar, the comb hanging in place. I give the comb a little tweak here and there to straighten it and then place it into the hive. There are many, many more combs to repair, and so I continue. The whole procedure becomes like a meditation into the present moment. Nothing else matters. Time stands still. I'm intensely focused on the task that must be done. As I near the end of the operation, I come to realise that not one single bee has approached me with aggression. Not one warning to say, hey, you're not welcome here. A huge wave of emotion just crashes over me with full force. Tears flow from my eyes, flooding. I watch them fall into the hive. I feel the bees' pain. I feel their suffering. I feel their vulnerability. Gradually, this sense of sorrow gives way to something else. I feel their gratitude. I feel their love. No aggression or frustration remains in my body. All has changed. I feel a deep sense of compassion for the people that caused this trauma. I understand that they must have their own traumas to want to destroy such a beautiful creation. I pray with the bees that the vandals find peace. We pray, we send them love. As I look up from the hive with tears still welling in my eyes, I see a beautiful woman walking towards me. Radha, my love, is coming to see how it's all going and if I need any help. In that instant, the tears flow freely again. Radha walks up to the hive and I remove my veil and feel foolish for wearing this protection when there is no threat at all. Radha holds me. My tears don't faze her and she supports me in that moment to let those emotions move through my body. This is one of the most profoundly beautiful moments I've ever shared with the bees. I am awed by their peacefulness. I'm almost overwhelmed with gratitude for the consciousness of humility, vulnerability, compassion and love that the bees are sharing with me. And the vandals. I move back to the hive and I place the last bars where they need to be and close the roof. Taking a step back, I look at the hive and the being that encloses it. I gaze at the being through different eyes. The bees have changed me. Through them I have grown a little. Thank you, I say. The words don't come from my mouth, they come from my heart. Thank you for guiding me, showing me how I can choose to exist in this world, how I may evolve into a human being. Thank you.